More days go by, and that just means there's more time to talk about Hugh Freeze's bowl game comments.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Jake Crain of Crain and Company hanging out with us on today's edition of the show. What else could Auburn do this offseason? The top 25 chatter for the Tigers is heating up. We'll get Jake's thought on that. But, I mean, the college football world was everybody was sharing their opinions about Hugh Freeze's comment saying that Auburn's got to make a bowl game, and people sometimes twisting his words or maybe rephrasing the question that he was actually asked. There's a lot of weird things going on with this, Jake, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts on what exactly Hugh Freeze said on the next round last week.
Yeah, well, first off, Zac, thanks for having me, buddy. Hope everybody's doing good out there and the fam's good. Yeah, we talked about it on our show Monday. And look, we're in May. We're like you guys out there. I'm ready for football season. It'll be here before we know it. But this, we have a tendency to string out quotes this time of year, and I get it. Look, I think there's multiple things here. You have some people that are just totally overreacting to it. Some people that are like, oh, it does, it's not that big of a deal, this, that, or the other. I kind of fall on I don't love what he said, right? I've talked about on this show multiple times. The standard at Auburn needs to be high. The standard should never change, but reality should be accepted. And that was a year one answer to that question. That was, I'm taking over this program. We got to rebuild it. It's going to take a little time. Here's some short-term goals that we have. And we are in year 3. And to the Auburn fans out there that are like, when did just making a bowl game be enough in year 3? I think if Hugh Freeze could do it over again, I'm not trying to speak for him, but I know him pretty decently well. And I think if he got a chance to answer that a different way, I think he would have. I think he was trying to avoid making some comment. I mean, what do you expect him to come out and be like, well, it's SEC championship or bust, or, if we don't win a championship, nothing else matters. And I get
well, that's what I've said. Like, if he was like truly honest, where like most Auburn people would say, what, 8 or 9 wins would be awesome. I mean, imagine if he would have said that, like the truly honest answer. People are like, oh, winning it all, making the playoffs, not the goal. Like, that's the standard now at Auburn. I think the people who are upset about it, Jake, are the people who are going to be upset about whatever he says.
Yeah, and look, I think he played it a little too safe with that answer, and by trying to not make a viral clip, you made a viral clip. Because I think, Zac, for a second deep down, that Hugh Freeze believes that 6-6 would be a good year with this roster? No, I don't think any rational Auburn fan out there would. But he did say that. Like, again, just because, I like Hugh and I think he's going to get the job done doesn't mean that I just say good things regardless. Like, we see on different media, networks now. But I just, all he had to say was, look, the expectation at Auburn's very high. We're working every day to get Auburn back to where we feel like they belong, where we haven't been in a while, and we've been building up to this, and we're going to do everything we can to have an unbelievably successful year and give Auburn fans what they deserve. But by playing it ultra safe, I can understand where people see it as kind of a weak answer. And that, wow, Auburn fans have been eating bologna when it comes to football for it seems like the last 5 years. We're ready for the steak again. We were promised the steak. We've been patient. It's year 3. And you look at this roster. Look, I mean, I was talking with Cole Kubik on our show. Yeah, I know the defense is a little bit thin at some spots, but this is the best roster that Auburn's had in a while. It's just going to come down to quarterback play. And, we've talked about Payton Thorne until we're blue in the face. Hugh Freeze has got to come through at quarterback, and we'll see if Jackson Arnold's able to do it. But just going to a bowl game, going to the Birmingham Bowl or the Papa John's Bowl, that isn't going to be good enough. Auburn needs to show some improvement on the field. And nobody's saying that you got to go undefeated or it's the worst season ever. But we got to start seeing it on the field, because off the field, it's been so freaking good, man. We're just ready to see it percolate onto the field, and this should be a year where we see it.
Yeah. I think it's totally valid whenever you talk about what Hugh Freeze has done to mention the years prior to what Hugh Freeze did, because like we all know the situation wasn't good that he came into. And him kind of bending the truth a little bit about, no top 25 recruiting classes the 4 years prior. Like that's just not true. It might be by a certain metric, and that might be the metric that they value internally. Like whatever. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on that. But I am so ready, and I'm sure Hugh Freeze is ready for this too, but I am so ready to get rid of talking about the few years before Hugh Freeze got here. Yeah. I'm so ready for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, it feels like we've been stuck in that rut, right, for a while.
And it matters. I'm not discrediting it. I'm just ready for it to be over.
For sure. You feel like, all right, we've been building to go. You were brought in to do something big, to flip this thing around. We need to go ahead and start seeing that start to happen. We're not even saying you need to go 14-0, right, and sweep through the college football playoffs. No, it's just that, these 5-win seasons, these 6-win seasons, that's not Auburn football. That deep down, that's not who we are. That's not how we view ourselves. And again, do I think Hugh Freeze views Auburn as a place where you can go 6-6 and 7-5 every year for 10 years and get away with it? No, he doesn't. But I also understand the underselling and over delivering, or under promising and over delivering. That's just tough to do with Auburn football. Like you can't do it at Goldman Sachs. You can't do it at Auburn football. If you want to be able to compete with the Alabamas and the Georgias and the Texases and the Ohio States of this world, you have to view yourself as a big dog. You have to carry yourself as a big dog. So I understand that. And I think Hugh Freeze knows that. Yeah. This was just a comment that, again, if he could reframe it, if he could have a do-over, I bet he would probably answer it differently. But I will say, Zach, I do think it is the lesser of two evils, because I would take this, and there's not a good box here, but I would take this over going out and saying, we're going to beat everybody to death. This is the best team I've ever seen. We shouldn't lose a game. If we don't win a championship, then it's a disaster. Like, you don't want to give anybody preparation material or bulletin board material. But what happens on the field is going to matter anyway. Like, that's all in the grand scheme of things. If he goes out there and Auburn has a really good year, nobody is going to care about what he said at a golf tournament in May. The problem becomes if you struggle early, this quote will resurface. You didn't do yourself any favors by doing that. So at the end of the day, you got to go win on the field. That's all that matters. And we'll see. But I'm not going to hyperventilate about this. I'm not going to beat my chest about it. Let's just let's go take care of somebody on the field. The off the field talking, I'm done with it. The Instagram stuff, I'm done with it. Let's go strap this up and let's go get Auburn back to where we belong.
Yeah, sadly, it's May. Like, you can't strap them up right now. I'm with you.
I know. But I'm going to reserve judgment until then. Like, I'm not going to bury the season.
He's asked about this at media days, right? Like, this isn't going to go away quickly.
No. I bet he'll have a better answer. I bet he'll have a better answer.
I hope so. I mean, I love the rawness. I love the fact that he's candid. And I'm not going to I have a hard time criticizing it when coaches are honest and they don't give us the canned coach speak stuff. But I do agree with your point of I don't think he helped himself. I don't think he helped himself at all.
But I'll be, Zach, I think he's been unbelievably transparent. I agree with you. But deep down, I don't know if Hugh Freeze, I mean, I tried to go back and watch it and see if I could sense some sarcasm. Right, because he's like, listen, I don't want to sound foolish, but he wasn't being sarcastic. But
I don't know come across as sarcastic to me.
No, I don't know if Hugh Freeze believes that. That's what caught me off guard the most, because I would not have been shocked if Hugh Freeze said, man, if we can get to the 8-9 win mark this year with what we're building.
That's the thing though, Jake, is there was no talk on goals, and people want to say, oh, so the goal's a bowl game. He didn't say that. He did not say goals.
Well, Zach, if he'd have said, well, if we can win 8 or 9, that'd be great. You'd still have some Auburn fans that were like 8 or 9. 100%. There's no way that can be what they're working towards. They want to win every game. They prepare to, you don't spend all this time and do all this. And you don't get paid all this money at a place like Auburn to go 6-6. They only do that at Kentucky with Mark Stoops.
Well, and at that point, the money's not even just going to Freeze. It's going to these kids now. I mean, this roster, it's loaded. This roster is very valuable from an NIL point of view. And if the goal was a bowl game, which I don't believe that's what he said at all. I just want to reiterate that again. That would be bad. That'd be a very, very bad thing. But I don't think that's what happened.
Me either.
And yeah, we're on the same page there. The top 25 chatter is heating up. And Jake, I want to get your thoughts on where Auburn should be. That's next right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book, and the NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, and you can get in on the action over at FanDuel.com. It makes it so easy to stay in the game before tip-off, during a game, if you want to live bet the thing. If you're new to FanDuel, this is the perfect time to sign up. You can head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet, and if it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. And the futures are there too. Auburn's still sitting at 7.5. And other places, I've seen some places where it says 8. It's still 7.5 wins at FanDuel. So you may want to get in on the action over there. But you can make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA and the Locked On Podcast Network. Jake Crain of Crain and Company joining us on today's edition of Locked On Auburn. We've seen several national folks say, hey, Auburn is a top 25 team. Andy Staples, I believe, has had them the highest at like 13, but we've seen several folks at On3 have Auburn in the top 15. Several folks elsewhere have Auburn in the top 25. Is this legitimate? I mean, it's all projection, right? We just talked about how valuable this roster is, and on paper, this roster is very, very impressive. Is it fair with what Hugh Freeze has done on the field? Like you said, the off the field stuff has been electric. It's been so fun. But on the field, they've left a lot to be desired, I guess, finding different ways to crush our hearts. Is Auburn worthy of being a top 25 team right now?
Well, look, I like that people think we're going to be good.
Me too.
Right? That's not a bad thing. I'd much prefer that over people being like, I don't think Auburn's a top 40 team.
Right.
But at this point, Zach, like,
it's a little surprising, right?
It's a little surprising. But by year 3, I think this is what we expected.
Sure.
Like, to the Auburn fans, we're like, okay, well, that makes sense. Follow the bouncing balls. By the time we got here, we felt like we should be a top 15 team. But I've played this game so many times, and we're going to do a preseason top 25, and everybody will do theirs, and it'll be fun, and this, that, the other. At the end of the day, brother, it doesn't matter. I'm to the point where, like, I don't care. Like, we can sit here and prognosticate, and we can try and project and look in the crystal ball. There's been years where I've thought, and other people thought Auburn was going to be bad, and they were good, and it's been vice versa. If you're an Auburn fan, which I'm sure you are, listening to this right now, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I will say, though, more times than not, when we're projected to not do good, that's when we do our best. So maybe it's a bad thing that people think we're doing good. Yeah. But at the end of the day, when you play the schedule that Auburn's going to play, you have a 12-team playoff, and you play in the SEC, regardless. I think a lot of Auburn fans are still skittish because of 2004. Like, oh, God, we got to start somewhere good, or even if we have a great year, it's not going to matter. We're going to somehow get left out. That's not the case anymore. If Auburn finds a way to win 10 games, guess what, people? They're going to be in the college football playoff. I don't care if they started outside the top 25 or if they started at number 6. It's just the preseason rankings is fun to talk about, all that, but Auburn's got to go out there and do it on the field, man. So until I see that, I'll trust but verify. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think? I know you had Staples on your show.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, we talked about his.
Yeah, I mean, I assume you asked him about Auburn.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, what was his thought process there?
Well, it's if you're betting on Auburn to do well, you are betting on one of two things. One, Jackson Arnold's going to become who he was supposed to become, or Auburn's going to be so good around him. And that's not just offensively, that's defense too and special teams, that he's able to just be good. And Auburn, with the talent they've acquired on this roster, is able to ascend. But a lot of it is, and we talk about quarterback, and that's the most important position on the field. And I get it. We all agree there. I'm not arguing that. But where Auburn has had to take the next step has been on the line of scrimmage. And I actually think, going back to what we were talking about at the beginning, what Hugh Freeze was really getting at with those recruiting classes is, Auburn had some quote-unquote decently highly ranked recruiting classes, but look at the line of scrimmage. Like, that's where this game is won or lost. I would rather have a 10th ranked recruiting class that is heavy on really talented linemen and lighter on the others than the number 3 ranked recruiting class that's just full of receivers and DBs. So Auburn, that's what cost Gus Malzahn. Offensive line, recruiting. Look at Brian Harsin. He's struggling on both sides of the line of scrimmage recruiting, in my opinion. Auburn has made their biggest jump on the line of scrimmage. You'll see that again in the offensive line this year, which I thought from a run game standpoint, the offensive line overachieved last year because they were so unbalanced because you couldn't count on the pass. I think this is the first year in a while where Auburn is too deep on the offensive line with talent because somebody inevitably is going to go down. Where I worry a little bit, and I brought this up to Andy, is the depth defensively, and especially in the front 7. Yeah. I mean, our guys getting off the bus right now, the starters, okay, I'll ride with that. But if you've ever watched this game, you know it's not just about your first 22. It's your first 44.
If Keldrick Falk or Malik Blockton, if you tell me they missed 4 games, I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's where, and again, I would much rather be deeper on the front 7 and the defensive line and thinner in the back end because I can hide an average secondary with a great pass rush and a great run defense.
Right.
You cannot do it in reverse order. Like we've seen that before. So you're hoping the injury bug doesn't hit. You always hope that, but that's the final piece, the 2 final pieces that Auburn is missing to get to the point roster-wise is a proven quarterback, which we could still get, and depth along both sides of the line of scrimmage that reloads every year. And we're a lot closer than we've been in a while. We're just not there yet. So you've got to catch a lot of breaks. But I mean, Zach, you got to catch breaks anyway.
Yeah, but it's also not about like where Auburn is nationally with that. It's where Auburn is versus the teams that they play. And I think with that, we've talked about it before. I mean, the stretch leading up to the Iron Bowl against Arkansas, against Missouri, against Kentucky, against Vandy. If you love that, you absolutely love Auburn's trenches. I don't care if a guy or 2 goes down. I still think you like Auburn's trenches over all of those. I think I like Auburn's trenches against Baylor. I know Baylor like really believes in their quarterback and some of these receivers and all
Auburn
that.
Is better than Baylor up front.
They should be.
Yeah.
They should be 100%. I don't care if it's being played in Waco. I think if that game goes south for Auburn, it's other factors that come into play.
Yeah, and look, Sawyer Robertson's improvisational ability worries me. But if it's like a pound-for-pound fight where it's our stuff versus your stuff and not any Dr. Seuss things in the backfield, Auburn should be better. I feel like offensively, Auburn has a big advantage over Baylor in some key spots. But to the point you just made, I think that's the best point. When I'm comparing Auburn, I'm not comparing them to Boston College. I'm not comparing them to the weaker teams in the SEC. I am comparing them, and this goes back to the standard argument that, again, we talked about in the beginning, to Georgia, to Alabama, to Texas, to the big dogs, right? To the big dogs. That's what I'm comparing, because that's who we got to beat. Like, if it was just about, this team was in the ACC, okay, I feel great about it. I think Auburn could have a chance to win the conference, but we're not, right? We're in Arkham Asylum. Okay, we're in this league. Say what you want about the Big Ten, top to bottom, the SEC is still the best league, and that's where I look. But Zach, so having said that, look at there's never been a better time to go get the SEC than right now. Just look, Bama, year 200 DeBoer breaking in a new quarterback. We'll see. Georgia breaking in a new quarterback. We'll see. Texas breaking in a new quarterback. We'll see. We've had a lot of turnover at the quarterback position in other places. So if there was ever a year for Auburn to go from the suburbs to an estate with a pool and a gate, it would be this year with this team. And you talk about momentum going into 2026. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, and then, I mean, just comparing them against the teams that they're going to play. I mean, Oklahoma breaking in a new quarterback, right? Because Auburn got their old one. And then you look at Texas A&M. Well, they beat Texas A&M last year, and I think Auburn's better than they were a year ago. Sure, they got to go to College Station. But, I mean, those are the 4 games that you're really circling, right? Like, at this point on paper, which is all we can do right now, we feel good about that stretch leading into the Iron Bowl with Missouri and Arkansas and, that tier of opponent. I just think Missouri lost a lot. I'm not high on Missouri.
Well, they did
this year.
I mean, they lost a bunch.
Did.
Well, Zach, yes. I mean,
but it's Oklahoma and A&M. Like Baylor, Oklahoma, and A&M, and then you got to play Georgia. We'll see what happens there. But those first 3 road games, to me, it's like if you can survive that, sure. Why can't you get to 9 or 10?
No, without a doubt. And again, you break the season down in segments, right? Some coaches do 4 3-game segments. Some coaches do 3 4-game segments.
And it might depend on how your schedule falls.
And that's true. But, and Zach, we don't know how some of these teams are going to end up. I mean, we may get to a point halfway through the season where we're like, well, this team's not as good as what we thought, but this team is better than what we thought. But we can just go off the information that we have right now. The way I look at it is, who is better than Auburn? Right? In my opinion, right now, who do I think is better than Auburn? All right, the Georgia, you get them at home. Bama, say roster-wise, still better than Auburn. Now, I don't think that's a crazy thing to say. You get them at home. At A&M, right? That's I think A&M's roster overall is better than Auburn's. I do, from the top to the bottom. And it's on the road, right? And then at Oklahoma.
But you would say it's close.
Oh, it's close. Yeah, no, the gap is not, it's not a super wide gap. And then Oklahoma, I'm going to tell you right now, I think Oklahoma is going to be a problem. This Mateer kid at quarterback came with his OC.
Yeah.
This is not Rosetta Stone. He's not having to learn a new language. He knows the language, and he can ball. And Oklahoma, wide receiver, depleted last year. Offensive line, injuries, really underperformed. Do not be shocked if Oklahoma is better than what people think.
Did they address the receiver problem, though?
Well, I mean, again, if you have 4 warm bodies out there, you're going to have, and don't forget, they beat Auburn in Auburn with that triage 10 at wide receiver. So let's not forget that. Look, you would think last year was an anomaly injury wise. They brought in some talent. But do they have the best wide receiver room in the league? No. Do they have a better wide receiver rooms than Auburn's? No. But their quarterback is a dog. He's the number 1 quarterback in the portal to me, and he's running his offense.
Yeah.
So look, that one. And then Venables taking over that defense full time, basically. They got some guys that can do it up front, too, now.
What else can Auburn do this offseason to make sure they're ready for this crucial season in year 3 of Freeze? That's next, right here on Locked On Auburn. Jake, you mentioned it a second ago. I mean, they may get another late ad in the portal. We saw them do that last year with Fanaje Gote. We'll see if they get another depth piece in the portal, which my guess is most schools will. We'll see what happens. But to me, the biggest thing Auburn needs to do now to back up this top 25 hype and to capitalize on this roster is these key guys that were limited throughout spring. Like, you got to do whatever you can to make sure they're healthy and that they stay healthy throughout the season. Because like you said, some positions look really good until 1 or 2 guys goes down. And then it's like, what do you do? What do you do in those situations?
Yeah, well, I mean, the obvious thing, you brought up injuries. Trying to, not only get guys that are on the mend better, but keep other people from having freak accidents or things like that we see every offseason that bites somebody here or there. And then again, it's not going out and doing something stupid. Right? Not going out and putting yourself at risk, nobody going out there and getting in trouble or anything like this. But more importantly, right now, still, even after spring, the chemistry that Jackson Arnold and Deuce Knight and this quarterback group needs to continue to get guys going out there and throwing on their own. Right? Now, there's ways, there were ways when I was in it to kind of be out there and look, but you build not only the chemistry on the field, but also off the field as well. They need to be hanging out with each other. You need to really get to know the other person. Go to that guy's house for dinner, right? Maybe go meet his family, right? Take the offensive line out to eat. We always talk about talent and personnel and how good this player is. A lot of times on 4th and 1, the difference is how together you are. And when there's a talent gap that's not a chasm that's super wide, those intangibles, those things you did during the summer, those things in the cafeteria, those things when y'all went and hung out and crack on each other and things, those are what, when you look each other in the eyes on the field on 4th and 1, that's the stuff that motivates you more than anything, because you're doing it for the guy next to you because you know him and you know that he cares about you and you care about him and you guys are all in this together. You are continuing to forge the team now, because if you wait until fall camp to do that, which I don't think Auburn has, it's way too late. You're already behind a lot of other teams that have more returning collective experience that have played together and been through those battles together, as opposed to what you have. So that's another key element as well.
I'm thinking of that clip that pops up every March Madness season of that basketball player being asked, like, what are you going to miss the most? And he gets emotional. He's like going out to eat with everybody.
Dude, I'm telling you.
But it's so true, though. It's so true.
Everybody listening right now that's been involved in a team sport, those are the things that you remember the most. Obviously the big plays and the big wins and the celebration, but like, these guys spend all this time together. This is where you forge your team. This is where it's built. And then you go let that monster out at the end of August and early September, and you go make people pay for wearing that other colored jersey.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Jake Crain of Crain and Company. How can people check out everything you've got going on?
Look, really easy. A lot of y'all probably know how to find it by now, but if not, it's Apple Podcast, Spotify for audio, a bunch of different places, video. We're pretty much everywhere. It's Crain and Company, CRAIN and Company. We got a great 2025 season preview with Cole Kublick. Really get down into the weeds with the roster and what we're looking at as well. So go check that out. And then on Monday, kind of reacted a little bit more. My brother disagreed with me on the comments, but he's also an insane person. So I feel like
he's not upset about it, or he is upset about it.
Yeah, he wasn't happy about it. He wasn't happy about it. He's real.
Hey, I get that argument. If you if you think he truly means that, then I think you should be upset. I'm just giving him the benefit of the doubt here.
Yeah, he's tired of eating the bologna too. We want the filet again.
Yeah, hopefully we're close. Close. Please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.